The rain was falling hard that night, drumming against the windows of the small roadside diner. Inside, the air was warm with the smell of coffee and fresh pie. A man sat alone in the corner booth, his cap pulled low, a worn jacket draped across his shoulders. To anyone else, he looked like just another traveler stopping in to escape the storm. But in truth, he was the undercover owner of the diner itself. His name was David, and he had built this place from the ground up years ago before stepping back to let others run it. He wanted to see for himself how things were going, to watch with his own eyes without anyone knowing who he really was. From his booth, David noticed her immediately. A waitress moving from table to table, balancing plates of food with one arm while her other hand wrapped in a clumsy bandage hung stiffly at her side. She smiled at customers, apologized when she was slow, and hurried back to the kitchen with quiet determination. Something about her caught David's attention. The way she winced when she picked up a heavy plate. The way she tried to hide the pain behind her smile. The way her co-workers barely noticed. He felt a pang of concern. Who was she, and why was she working in such condition? As the night wore on, he observed carefully. Her name tag read Emily. She couldn't have been more than 22. Despite her injury, she seemed to be the one holding everything together. She refilled coffees before customers even asked, cleaned tables that others ignored, and somehow found a way to encourage the tired cook in the back with a kind word every time she passed through the swinging doors. But when she thought no one was watching, her face betrayed her. A shadow of exhaustion. A flicker of despair. David's heart clenched. When she brought him his coffee, he noticed her hand trembling as she set the cup down. "Rough night?" he asked softly. She laughed nervously. "Nothing I can't handle." "Enjoy your coffee, sir." And she turned away quickly, not wanting him to see the pain in her eyes. David knew then that this wasn't just about an employee doing her job. Something deeper was going on. Over the following days, David kept returning to the diner, still undercover. Each time, Emily was there, working through her injury, never complaining. He started noticing details: her shoes were worn nearly through at the soles, her uniform slightly faded from too many washes, and her tips tucked carefully into a little notebook she carried with her. As if every dollar mattered, curiosity grew into concern, and concern grew into a quiet determination. He needed to know her story. One evening, as the diner slowed after the dinner rush, David finally found a moment to speak to her again. "Forgive me for asking," he said gently, "but what happened to your hand?" Emily froze, her eyes flickering with hesitation. For a moment, David thought she might walk away. But then, she sighed. "It's nothing. Just an accident." "An accident?" he pressed softly. She looked down, twisting the rag she was holding. "I fell while carrying boxes at my second job. The doctor said I should rest it, but I can't afford to take time off." David felt his chest tighten. "You're working 2 jobs? With a broken hand?" She nodded, still avoiding his gaze. "Actually, 3. I do cleaning in the mornings, work here evenings, and a late-night shift at a gas station. My little brother depends on me. He's only 14. Our parents, they're not around anymore." Her voice cracked on the last words, and she quickly turned her head as if ashamed of the tears threatening to fall. David's world seemed to stop. Here was this young woman, carrying the weight of the world on her injured shoulders, fighting battles no one else could see, and still finding a way to smile at strangers in a diner. Over the next week, David quietly dug deeper. He asked around without giving away who he was. The other staff admitted Emily often took the hardest shifts. She covered for people without complaint. She was always first to arrive and last to leave. Yet she never asked for help. One evening, David watched as her manager barked at her for being slow, even though she was clearly struggling with her hand. The cook grumbled that she wasn't moving fast enough. Customers grew impatient when she couldn't carry as much at once. And still, Emily smiled. Still, she pushed through. David's hands clenched into fists beneath the table. Something inside him shifted. He decided it was time to step out of the shadows. The next morning, David walked into the diner not in his worn jacket and cap, but in a crisp shirt. He called the staff together. Confusion filled the room. "I need to introduce myself," he said firmly. "My name is David, and I am the owner of this diner." Gasps filled the air. The manager's face went pale. Emily stood frozen, her bandaged hand holding a tray against her side. "I've been coming here undercover," David continued. "And I've seen things I both admire and things that disappoint me deeply. But there is one person who has stood out above all others." His eyes rested on Emily. "You." Emily's lips parted in shock. "I've seen your dedication," David said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've seen your courage, your kindness, and your strength, even when no one noticed. You've been carrying burdens no one your age should carry. And yet, you still show up, still give your best, still shine." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. "From this day forward," David announced, "you are no longer a waitress here. I'm promoting you to assistant manager, with a full salary. And you're going to take paid time off until your hand heals. Do you understand?" The room erupted in stunned silence. Emily shook her head, unable to believe it. Why would you do that for me?" she whispered. David stepped closer. "Because kindness deserves to be rewarded. Because strength like yours deserves to be recognized. And because no one should fight alone." Emily's tears finally spilled over. For the first time in a long time, she felt the crushing weight on her chest lift, even just a little. The weeks that followed changed everything. With David's support, Emily finally rested and healed. Her brother, relieved to see his sister smiling again, began thriving in school. The diner itself transformed too. David made sure the staff understood the value of respect and compassion, reminding them that every person who walked through those doors, whether customer or employee, had a story worth honoring. And as for Emily, she stepped into her new role with the same heart she had shown as a waitress. She encouraged her co-workers, listened to their struggles, and reminded them that they were more than just workers in a busy diner. She became the beating heart of the place. David never forgot the night he first saw her struggling with a broken hand. It reminded him of something he had nearly forgotten himself, that businesses are not built on profits alone, but on people. On kindness. On compassion. By the time word spread through town, the diner wasn't just known for its food anymore. It was known for its heart. Customers came not just to eat, but to feel like they belonged. And at the center of it all was Emily, the young woman who had once worked with a broken hand but had found strength, hope, and family in the most unexpected way. David often sat at his corner booth, no longer undercover, watching the life inside his diner with quiet pride. He knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the most powerful discoveries come not from what you're looking for, but from the people you never expected to meet. And Emily's story became a reminder for everyone who heard it. No matter how heavy your burdens, kindness can change everything.